There was a time when AI felt like a very smart app. You opened a window, typed a question, waited a second, and got an answer. Sometimes the answer was brilliant, sometimes it was wrong. But either way, the relationship was simple. You asked, it replied. That version of AI was like a calculator with imagination, useful, impressive, occasionally strange, but still contained. Now, something different is happening. AI is beginning to leave the chat box. It is writing code, searching through files, opening tools, handling multi-step workflows, and in some cases acting on behalf of users. The shift sounds small when you describe it technically. We moved from chatbots to agents, from answers to actions, from prompts to workflows, but underneath that vocabulary, the change is much bigger. A chatbot is like a consultant sitting across the table giving advice. An agent is more like giving that consultant a badge, a laptop, access to your company systems, and permission to start doing the work. That is a completely different animal. And once AI can act, the central question changes. The old question was, how smart is the model? The new question is, what is the system allowed to do? That is why recent AI news matters so much. Anthropic's Fable and Mythos models were not just another product launch. They became part of a bigger argument about power, safety, access, and national security. The US government restricted access after concerns that the models could be misused for serious cyber capabilities. Then access was restored after additional safeguards and coordination. Think about what that means. A software product was treated less like a productivity app and more like a strategic asset. That is the signal. When governments start asking who can use a model, which countries can access it, what safeguards are strong enough, and whether it can increase cyber risk, we are no longer talking about ordinary software. We are talking about infrastructure. Not infrastructure like roads and bridges, but infrastructure in the deeper sense, the layer underneath everything else. Electricity became infrastructure because it powered the factory. Cloud computing became infrastructure because it powered the internet economy. AI is becoming infrastructure because it may soon power decisions, workflows, research, security, and eventually parts of management itself. That makes AI less like a tool you buy and more like a nervous system you install. And nobody installs a nervous system casually. Imagine a company as a building. For years, AI was like bringing in a very smart intern and putting them in one room. They could help with emails, summarize documents, brainstorm ideas, maybe write some code. If they made a mistake, the damage was usually limited. Now imagine that same intern has keys to the whole building. They can walk into the finance department, open the server room, talk to customers, change the website, create tickets, write code, contact vendors, and move information between systems. At that point, the question is not whether the intern is smart. The question is whether the building has locks, cameras, access cards, alarms, fire doors, emergency exits, and someone watching the control room. That is the missing conversation in AI adoption. Most companies are still asking which model is best. Better question, what control layer sits around the model? Because intelligence without boundaries is not strategy, it is exposure. The UN's recent warning points in the same direction. The concern is not only that AI will generate bad content or produce misinformation. Those problems are already familiar. The deeper concern is agentic AI, systems that can perform complex real-world tasks with increasing autonomy. That phrase, real-world tasks, is the key. AI becomes more dangerous and more valuable at the same time when it crosses from language into action. A model that writes a bad paragraph is annoying. A model that sends the wrong email to a client can damage trust. A model that changes code incorrectly can break a product. A model that misunderstands a security workflow can create risk. A model that acts quickly, confidently, and invisibly across a company can turn a small mistake into a system-level failure. This is why the future of AI will not be decided only by model quality. It will be decided by governance quality. But governance is the wrong word for many executives because it sounds slow. It sounds like committees, PDFs, compliance meetings, and people saying no. That is not what I mean. Real AI governance is more like air traffic control. Planes move fast, nobody wants them grounded forever. The goal is not to stop flight. The goal is to make flight possible at scale without collisions. Every plane needs a route, and the pilot needs clearance. Every emergency needs a protocol. That is what companies need for agents, not bureaucracy, control. The companies that understand this will move faster, not slower. A company with no control layer will be afraid of powerful agents. Every new workflow will feel risky. Every deployment will require endless debate. Legal, IT, security, and leadership will all be nervous because nobody really knows what the agent can touch or what happens when something goes wrong. A company with a strong control layer has the opposite advantage. It can say, this agent can read these systems but not write to them. That agent can draft responses but cannot send them without approval. This workflow can update internal records but only inside a sandbox. High-risk decisions require human escalation. Every action is logged. Every failure has an owner. Every tool permission can be revoked. Suddenly, AI adoption becomes much more practical. The company is no longer relying on hope. It is building rails. And rails are what allow speed. A train is fast because it is constrained. Without tracks, the same machine becomes dangerous. With tracks, it can move thousands of tons across a country. AI agents need tracks. The Codex research is interesting for exactly this reason. Agentic AI usage is growing fast, and users are giving these systems more complex tasks. That tells us something important about human behavior. People do not just want answers, they want delegation. They do not want a model that explains how to do the work. They want a model that does part of the work. This is natural. Every major technology moves in this direction. At first, the machine helps you, then it automates a task. Eventually, it becomes part of the operating structure. Spreadsheets started as digital paper, then they became financial models. Later, they became the hidden operating system of entire companies. Cloud started as outsourced servers, then it became the foundation of modern software. AI is following the same path, but faster. The chat window was only the doorway. The real destination is the workflow. Once AI enters the workflow, executive responsibility changes. A leader cannot say, we use ChatGPT. That sentence is already too vague. Where is it used? Who uses it? What data goes into it? Which tools can it access? What exactly is the permission to change things? What happens when instructions conflict? Who audits the logs? Where is the stop button? These questions sound operational, but they are strategic. The next competitive advantage will not come from merely having access to frontier models. Many companies will have access. The frontier labs will keep releasing powerful systems. The models will continue to improve. The difference will be what each company builds around them. A weak company will plug agents into messy workflows and hope productivity appears. A stronger company will redesign the workflow first. That distinction matters. If the business process is broken, AI will not magically fix it. It may simply accelerate the brokenness. A confused refund policy becomes a confused refund agent. A chaotic sales process becomes a chaotic sales agent. A poorly documented engineering system becomes an AI coding agent guessing in the dark. An incentive structure that rewards speed over quality becomes a machine that makes mistakes faster. AI does not remove the shape of the organization, it reveals it, sometimes it magnifies it. This is where executives need to be careful. The temptation is to treat AI as a layer you sprinkle on top of the company. Add a chatbot here, add an agent there, automate some emails, generate some reports, deploy a coding tool, buy a few licenses, announce transformation. That is not transformation, that is decoration. Real transformation starts with a map. Where does work enter the company? Where does it slow down? Which decisions repeat? Which approvals matter? Does it touch sensitive data? Which tasks are reversible? Can we map the mistakes that are expensive? Only after that map exists should an AI agent be inserted. Otherwise, it is like adding a jet engine to a wooden cart. The engine is powerful, the cart is not ready. This is also why the Anthropic story is bigger than Anthropic. The specific model names will change, the companies will change, the benchmarks will change. Today it is one model, tomorrow it will be another. Next month, a new system will claim better reasoning, better coding, better autonomy, better memory, better planning. The pattern is what matters. As AI becomes more capable, access becomes political. As agents become more autonomous, governance becomes operational. As companies depend on AI more deeply, control becomes competitive advantage. That is the story under the story. We are moving from the model era to the control layer era. In the model era, everyone asked which AI is smartest. In the control layer era, the better question becomes which organization can safely use intelligence at scale. That phrase matters. Safely use intelligence at scale, not demo it, not experiment with it, not make a viral screenshot, use it repeatedly inside real work with real customers, real data, real systems, real consequences. That is where the value is. A company does not become AI native because employees paste prompts into a browser. It becomes AI native when intelligence is woven into operations without making the organization fragile. The metaphor I keep coming back to is electricity. When electricity first entered factories, the value was not just the light bulb. The real value came when factories were redesigned around electric power. Machines no longer had to be arranged around one central steam engine. Workflows changed. Architecture changed. Management changed. AI will probably follow a similar path. The first phase is substitution. Write this email. Summarize this document. Draft this code. Create this image. The second phase is workflow redesign. Monitor this process. Route this case. Check this exception. Prepare this decision. Coordinate these tools. The third phase is organizational redesign. What does a company look like when every team has agents? What does management look like when routine coordination is automated? What happens to middle layers of work when AI can observe, summarize, recommend, and execute? Which jobs become more valuable because judgment matters more? Which roles shrink because they were mainly moving information from one place to another? These are uncomfortable questions, but they are the questions leaders should be asking now. The danger is not that AI will suddenly become magic. The danger is that it becomes useful enough to be deployed everywhere before companies understand how to manage it. That is how most serious technology failures happen. Not because the tool is useless, because it is useful. Useful tools spread, useful tools get embedded, useful tools become dependencies. Then one day, the organization realizes the tool is not sitting on the side anymore. It is inside the machine. At that point, removing it is difficult. Auditing it is harder. Explaining every decision becomes almost impossible unless the control layer was designed early. This is why AI strategy cannot be only a model strategy. It has to be an architecture strategy. Executives need to think in layers. There is the model layer. Which frontier model, open model, specialized model, or local model performs the task. There is the tool layer, what systems the agent can access. There is the memory layer, what it remembers, retrieves, and uses as context. There is the policy layer, what it is allowed to do. There is the human layer, where judgment, approval, escalation, and accountability sit. Finally, there is the observability layer, what the company can see after the agent acts. Without these layers, an AI agent is just intelligence floating in the building. With these layers, it becomes part of an operating system. That is the message I would give to any founder or executive watching the current AI news. Do not get distracted only by the drama of which model is ahead this week. Look at the direction of travel. The models are becoming more capable. The tasks are becoming longer. The agents are becoming more autonomous. The governments are becoming more involved. The risks are becoming more systemic. The opportunity is also becoming much larger. A founder building in this space should ask, where will companies need control before they can unlock value? A CEO adopting AI should ask, where can agents safely create leverage without creating hidden fragility? A board should ask, do we understand where AI is already acting inside the company? And every operator should ask one simple question before deploying an agent. If the system makes a mistake at full speed, what happens? That question cuts through the hype. It forces clarity. Maybe the mistake is harmless. In that case, automate more aggressively. Maybe the mistake is reversible. Add a review step. Maybe the mistake is expensive. Limit the permissions. Maybe the mistake is unacceptable. Keep a human in the loop. This is not anti-AI, it is how serious AI adoption begins. The next era will reward the companies that can combine ambition with control. Too much fear, and they will fall behind. Too much recklessness, and they will break trust. The sweet spot is disciplined acceleration. Move fast, but know where the brakes are. Deploy agents, but give them boundaries. Use powerful models, but build the operating system around them. Because AI is no longer just software. It is becoming strategic infrastructure. And once something becomes infrastructure, the winners are not only the people who discover the power, the winners are the people who learn how to distribute it, govern it, secure it, and use it every day without burning the building down.